I've opposed efforts to ban deadly weapons of war like the assault rifle used to carry out this crime. The time has now come for me to take responsibility for this failure, which is why I now call on the United States Congress to ban assault rifles like the one used by the sick perpetrator of this mass killing in my hometown of Lewiston, Maine. For the good of my community, I will work with any colleague to get this done in the time that I have left in Congress. Out of fear of this dangerous world that we live in and my determination to protect my own daughter and wife in our home and in our community, because of a false confidence that our community was above this and that we could be in full control, among many other misjudgments.
The shooting in Maine has now once again demonstrated the circus that is the anti-gun movement. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC. P.A.N. Firearms, NRA certification and multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below. And if you like my channel, like my content, and what I do here, you can support me with the link. Everything is appreciated. Let's talk about this. And now we all know this story because it has been central focus of the mainstream media for days now. Robert Card walked into several establishments in Maine and opened fire, and if I'm not mistaken, unfortunately 22 people have lost their lives, and I believe they're saying 50 to 60 people have been wounded. Now, in the aftermath, he has been found, but he has been found dead. They are not saying it's self-inflicted, but you can only assume that's what happened. But what I want to talk about is the circus that this kind of thing generates. When I first heard this story, somebody came in and said, oh, by the way, there was a shooting in Maine yesterday. My first thought was, oh man, people lost their lives. My second thought is how are the Democrats going to exploit this? How are they going to use this once again to prop up their agenda? And that's the part that kind of, quite honestly, pisses me off. They didn't wait for any information, didn't wait for any facts. They just immediately went on a tirade about gun control. But looking at this man had some serious mental problems that were ignored. He ended up in a facility for 2 weeks over a summer where he stated he wanted to shoot up his National Guard unit where he's a reservist. And no one did nothing. 2 weeks later, he was back out on the streets going about his business. That is a failure of the mental health system. And that is a failure. In this day and age, when somebody says something like that, you have to take them seriously. Fine and dandy. But once again, it didn't take long for the mainstream media to once again, and the usual grifters, Murphy, Blumenthal, your Democrats across the board. I'm shocked that Biden hasn't come out and said something yet. At this point, I have not heard him say too much about it. We have heard his affirmative action press secretary mutter a few words.
There have been literally hundreds of mass shootings in the last year alone, leaving empty seats at dinner tables across the country, and leaving those who survive these heinous acts both physically and mentally scarred. And while we have made progress since the president signed the bipartisan Safer Communities Act into law, much more must be done. And the president has been clear that executive action alone is just not enough. As the vice president who oversees the newly established Office of Gun Violence and Prevention, stated during today's state luncheon, I know many of you watched very closely as well, and she said, it doesn't have to be this way. As our friends in Australia have demonstrated, again, it does not have to be this way. It's within Congress's power to pass legislation that will make our streets safer, that will make our communities safer, that will make our schools safer. The House has a new speaker who he said he's ready to get to work and to find common ground. Now is the time. Now is the time to find common ground. Let's work together to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. Let's work together to enact universal background checks, require safe storage of guns, and keep guns out of the hands of criminals and dangerous individuals who have no business being armed with a weapon of war.
And it's always the same thing. We need an assault weapons ban. An assault weapons ban is not going to prevent this. He could have used a handgun, and I heard people say, well, it wouldn't have caused much carnage. I'm like, you people don't know squat about firearms. Okay? And then it's shocking to hear these people speak as if they gospel, if they know what they're talking about, and they don't know squat. I'm arguing with a guy now who's talking about why civilians shouldn't have military-grade weapons, and I pointed out to him the AR-15 is not a military-grade weapon. But as a matter of fact, the Second Amendment says arms. So technically, yes, we are supposed to have military-grade weapons. Just as the musket was a military-grade weapon. But notice, they did not say the right to bear muskets. It says the right to bear arms. They were a lot more forward-thinking than a lot of people here today. But CNN went out and tried to speak to some of the residents in the area. And, well, they didn't really get the response that they wanted.
What did you tell your daughter who was with you? I just can't imagine as a mother how to make sense of it and to relay that to a child.
She's starting to be, stuff like that gets real when something so big happens. It's like, okay, yeah, it really could be our school next. So we came home and she wanted to lock up right away. We locked up, locked all the windows, everything. I do have a firearm, so it made her feel better to know that I was carrying it around and had it all ready to go. She was scared somebody was going to come into our home, and I told her you gotta remember that odds could be so slim for that. So try not to worry so much, but I will do whatever I can to make you feel better in the meantime too.
And I got my daughter inside.
Your daughter? How old's your daughter?
She's 10 years old, and my oldest daughter, she works at the Walmart DC too, and I had to message her to find out if she's okay, and it's very unnerving right now.
Seeing those officers with those long guns walking through,
That actually made me feel better. Seeing the cops coming around here, that makes me feel a million times better. In a situation like this, I wish I had a firearm.
One of the Maine Democrats has now flipped the script, I guess. I guess he used to be pro-gun. Now he's saying that he wants an assault weapons ban, when in reality, he's just grifting. He's just plain grifting, and he's going to end up losing his job. Maine is a pro-gun state. Let's be clear about something. Maine has the lowest murders per year than any other state in the union, and has the highest gun ownership among civilians.
As we continue to follow the latest in the manhunt for the shooter responsible for the killing of at least 16 people in Lewiston, Maine, let's go ahead and take a look at the gun laws in the state. It is a state that does not have the most restrictive gun laws, not even close, but it's also a state that has a very different profile than perhaps some others. Gun ownership in the state at about 45%. That's about 8 to 10% higher than the national average. However, violent crime, 103 per 100,000 people, that's actually the lowest in the nation, according to the most recent numbers. 29 homicides in 2022. It is a state where gun ownership is higher than average, violent crime is lower than average. And that has led in part to why the gun laws in the state, despite some efforts in the state legislature, have not grown significantly more restrictive over the years as mass shootings have been as pervasive.
See, the Democrats and the mainstream media don't know what to do with that fact. So they twist it. They take this one event, the anomaly, an absolute anomaly in that state, and say, we need an assault weapons ban because of what happened here. Because one person committed this crime, this heinous crime, but we need gun control. That's going to stop it the next time. No, it's not. And they know this because they're just building on for the next thing when the next actual mass shooting happens, because they're not dealing with the problem. This guy had mental problems. He needed to be dealt with on that level, and they didn't. They probably just don't know for sure, just alleged, but probably just gave him some drugs and said, you're good, and put him right back out in the street. The man was having the issues. There's also speculation that he was going after his ex-girlfriend. Well, once again, the guy had mental issues. The implement used is irrelevant. I don't care what the implement is. It's the fact that he carried it out and why. That is what this is all about. Now, We're going to see how this goes going forward, but Maine is not going to, they're not going to pass any gun control because the majority of the people there are gun owners. And as you heard from the two people there, one guy said, I don't own a gun, but I wish I did. They're not going to get too far with it, but they're going to continue to use this event as much as they possibly can, while at the same time ignoring all the other murders around the country that go on every single day, especially the violence in the inner cities, because that doesn't fit a narrative. It's unfortunate people lost their lives. The guy's gone, so we're not going to get any real answers as to why he did it. There's going to be huge speculation. But every time this happens, the first thing that comes out of these people's mouths is gun control. It doesn't matter what the facts are. It doesn't matter what the agenda. It's a gun control. We need gun control because gun control is somehow going to prevent this from happening. As I said, Maine has the lowest murder rate in the country and has the highest gun ownership. You heard the guy say it. So this really isn't going to fit the narrative for them. But let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified the next time a video goes live. I will see you on the next one. Peace.